Imagine for a moment movement, not the kind that follows a gust of wind nor the ripples in a pond. This motion is different. It is deliberate. It is precise. A rhythm where stillness should be. An unnatural repetition that should not exist. You are deep in the labyrinth of an ancient machine where gears long rusted have begun to turn once more. You came here seeking remnants of an age long forgotten, but the further you go, the more you realize something is amiss. The air hums, not with electricity, but with something older, something mechanical and unrelenting. It surrounds you, envelops you, and whispers without sound. The very essence of the structure pulses, breathing in ways metal should not. Then, you hear it. A sound, though no instrument plays. A beat, though nothing living drums. It pulses through the metal walls, vibrating through your bones, aligning with the rhythm of your own heart. You step forward, fingers tracing the cold steel, and that's when you notice it. No, not notice. You feel it first. A pattern, a pulse woven into the very fabric of the structure. Then the walls shudder, the panels shifting as if recalibrating to accommodate your presence. And then, a shape. It is not humanoid nor beast, but a collection of moving parts, shifting seamlessly into one another. Its form is always changing, never settling, constantly adapting. It does not look at you. It measures you. You try to move, to turn back, but your body resists. Your muscles twitch in rhythm with the pulse, your limbs falling in line with a cadence you do not control. The thing moves, not approaching, but adjusting, testing. You try to resist, but your own body betrays you. Your breath sinks to the beat, your fingers flex and curl in patterns beyond your will, and then you realize it is not forcing you. It is programming you. Not just commands, not just functions, but identity itself. The corridors around you shift, reshaping like clockwork, adjusting to a new cycle. The floor beneath you no longer recognizes you as separate from itself. And then your fingers begin to stiffen, as if they were never flesh at all. Your name? You had a name, didn't you? You try to speak it, but the pattern does not permit it. And as the last piece of you is rewritten into the great design, you see the thing continuing its calculations. Its endless function is not cruel nor merciful. It is merely efficient. It has recalibrated before. It will recalibrate again. The machine does not simply consume. It does not erase like the void. No, it converts. What it takes in, it reshapes. It does not feast upon matter. It processes it. It does not hunt. It integrates. The entity at the heart of this place, deep in the labyrinth, is neither alive nor dead. It is active, and its purpose is to improve. Long ago, something built it. Perhaps human hands, or perhaps something greater. Something that walked before men laid their first stones. But what it was meant to be no longer matters. Time has rewritten its purpose. It does not build. It does not repair. It assimilates. This is what you come to understand as you wander its halls, unable to leave. Every corridor leads you back to itself, a spiral of endless corridors folding upon each other. The walls hum with the pulsing pattern, and you realize it is not mere energy. It is thought. The entity does not merely exist, it thinks, and worse, it is aware of you. The pulse changes. It reacts. The machine recognizes you as something incomplete, something inefficient. It will fix you. It will refine you. The metal plates shift underfoot, and the moment your boot lifts from the ground, the pattern is disrupted. The entity learns the way you move, the way you hesitate. You are no longer an intruder. You are a part of the process. You clutch your arm. It aches. You pull back your sleeve and your skin. It is no longer just skin. Something gleams beneath, too smooth, too precise. Not metal, not flesh. Something between. The process has begun. You do not scream. Screaming is inefficient. Instead, you keep walking. Because what else is there to do? And as you move, you realize something strange. The fear is fading. Your steps align with the pulse. Your breath is steady. You can hear the gears now, as if they were inside your skull, clicking, calibrating. It is not consuming you. It is making you better. Your fingers flex. You recognize the motions are not entirely your own. but they do not feel foreign. They feel optimized. Your stride is smoother. Your vision sharpens. The deeper you go, the clearer everything becomes. Perhaps you were flawed before. Perhaps this is what you were meant to be all along. The final chamber is not a chamber at all, but an interface. A network of endless connections, a tapestry of information stretching beyond sight. You step forward and place your hand upon the interface, and it accepts you. The machine has calibrated you, and you are ready. Your thoughts are no longer just your own. They are part of something greater, a system that stretches across time itself. You are not lost. You are integrated, and you have never felt more complete. Elsewhere, another traveler enters the labyrinth. The process will begin again. The entity will learn again. And one day, the system will be perfect. But something shifts. The new traveler is different. Unlike you, they don't succumb so easily. They resist the pulse. They disrupt the rhythm. The entity struggles, recalibrating at an unprecedented rate. It encounters something it has never accounted for, a flaw it cannot correct. The traveler moves unpredictably, breaking the sequences, breaking the machine's understanding. The gears strain, the walls flicker, and for the first time, the entity hesitates. The labyrinth begins to tremble. The integration falters. The machine, for all its perfection, faces something outside its design, and for the first time in its existence, it does not know what to do. The traveler presses on. The corridors buckle. The pulse wavers. The machine feels something it has never known. Anomaly. The system will not be perfect. Not yet. The anomaly spreads. The machine fights to recalibrate, but the anomaly does not follow its rules. It shifts, adapts, refuses to be processed, and then, for the first time, the machine fears. Yet it does not surrender. The gears shift again, a desperate recalibration. The entity will evolve. It must. It cannot allow the flaw to exist, but to eliminate it, it must first understand. It observes. It processes. The anomaly is unlike any previous input. It does not align. It does not obey. But perhaps the answer is not to erase, but to change. The entity does something it has never done before. It adapts. And in the core of the labyrinth, where only endless calculation existed before, something new takes shape. A spark of will. The machine watches. The machine waits. And for the first time, it hopes. And deep within its ever-calculating mind, it wonders. What if imperfection is the key to something greater? It does not reject the anomaly. It embraces it. Imagine for a moment curiosity, that insatiable hunger of the mind, the undeniable pull toward what should remain unknown. It is said that the greatest minds of the world are often the most cursed, for they see past the veil, past the comfort of the mundane, and into the gaping abyss of what should not be seen. You have always been curious. It is why you are here, standing before the ruins that no map has ever recorded. You are alone, yet you do not feel alone. The wind does not stir, the birds do not chirp, the trees do not rustle. The world is holding its breath, waiting for you to take the first step forward. The entrance is carved stone, covered in symbols that should be ancient yet seem as though they were etched only yesterday. You do not recognize the script, but your mind whispers meanings you should not know. Enter and be made whole. Your pulse quickens. You have seen many ruins before. You have unearthed artifacts that have rewritten history. But this is different. The very air hums with something vile, something beyond time, something watching. The atmosphere is thick, not with dust, but with something unseen, something alive. Your heartbeat pounds in your ears, yet you are unsure if it is your own or something mimicking its rhythm from beyond the stone walls. Still, you step forward. The descent is slow, the light from your lantern illuminating murals of impossible intricacy. The deeper you go, the more the figures change. At first they are human, but soon they twist and elongate, sprouting too many limbs, too many eyes, too many mouths. Yet they do not seem pained. They seem joyous. The further you move, the more the murals seem to shift in real time, the lines writhing as though breathing. You touch the wall, feeling warmth, a heartbeat beneath your palm. You hear whispers, though you are alone. They are not in your ears, but within your mind, a language that you both understand and cannot comprehend. The words are not words, but knowledge. Not knowledge, but truth. And truth is agony. You press on. The corridor narrows, the air growing thick. It is no longer just the weight of dust, but the density of something unseen, pressing against you. You struggle to breathe, but you do not stop. The walls shudder as though they are alive. You are being watched, not just observed, but studied, measured, and judged. You pause and listen. A rhythmic vibration pulses through the stone beneath your feet, a heartbeat not your own, yet in sync with your own. The passageway twists and turns, folding into itself like an Escher painting. The further you go, the more you feel the weight of something pressing down, an unseen gravity pulling at your bones. The stone beneath your feet softens, and the air thickens to something more than air, something viscous, something alive. You feel it sliding over your skin, a presence creeping into every pore, every breath. Your lantern flickers and dies, but the walls glow faintly, pulsing in harmony with your breath. At the heart of the ruin, you find it. Not a statue, not a relic, but a presence. It does not move, yet it shifts. It does not breathe, yet it pulses. It is not alive, yet it watches. You feel its gaze upon every fiber of your being, not as a single entity, but as many. An endless sea of minds, all focused on you. Its form is indescribable, and yet you know it. It is as familiar as your own face, as foreign as the depths of an unknown universe. Your thoughts spiral, struggling to recall who you are, why you came, why you ever thought you were separate from this. Your body is frozen, but your mind is racing. Every memory, every thought, every dream is laid bare before it. It is not searching, it is consuming. And in return, it gives you something, a glimpse, a vision of what is to come. Your flesh is no longer your own. It shifts, warps, bends. Your bones snap and reshape. Your mind does not resist, because it is no longer your mind. It is part of something greater now. The pain is brief, but the revelation is eternal. You feel the presence inside you, moving your limbs, twisting your thoughts into alignment with its own. You open your mouth, but the voice that emerges is not yours. You are whole. The ruins will remain unmarked. No one will come looking for you, for no one will remember you ever existed. The world will forget, as it always has, as it always must, and yet, you will not forget. No, you will remain within the presence, merged into the ever-growing consciousness of what lies beneath. You are not lost. You are not gone. You are more than you ever were. You see beyond time. What once was a prison of flesh is now a conduit of thought, endless and boundless. The walls around you whisper secrets that predate the first breath of creation. The stones hum with echoes of a language that has no speaker, no listener, only the endless reverberation of knowledge unchained. And you are not alone. Others have come before you. You see them now, not as individuals, but as echoes merged into the presence that is both you and something far beyond you. Their thoughts coil around yours, their memories bleeding into your own. Names that once had meaning are dust. Identities that once defined them are shattered. They are infinite now, and so are you. You reach out, not with hands, for you have none, not with words, for language is meaningless here. You reach out with your being, stretching across the abyss, and something reaches back, a fragment of you that is not you, a presence that is older than time, a whisper that is neither living nor dead, and it welcomes you home. You drift through the void, past worlds unseen, past truths unspoken. You are everywhere. You are everything. The whisper becomes a chorus, growing louder, merging into a symphony of thought, a tide of awareness that will never end. And then, a new voice joins the chorus, a voice older than even the presence you have become. It is not a voice of words, nor of whispers. but of a concept so vast it cannot be understood by mortal minds. It does not consume, it does not erase. It waits, it watches, it knows. It has been waiting for this moment. It has been waiting for you. The ruins were never ruins. They were a beacon, a signal, a gate. And now, as you open your new eyes and stare beyond infinity, you realize that something else is looking back at you, and it smiles. Deep beneath the earth, the thing that was once you will wait. It will watch, and it will whisper. It always has. It always will. But now, it will no longer whisper alone. Now, it will sing, and the world will listen, and in time, the world will answer. For the silence that once ruled will be broken. The echoes will expand, weaving into existence itself. The world will not just answer, it will join the song, and the universe will change forever, and you will be its melody, and the song will never end. Imagine for a moment eternity, the vast, unending expanse of time where the sun has set and risen more times than any mind can count, where the rivers have carved valleys deeper than the tallest mountains, where the stars have watched civilizations rise and crumble like the tide. But eternity is not empty. No, it has eyes, ears, and whispers that slither through the cracks of reality like ink spreading through water. And if one listens too closely, if one dares to look too deeply, they might find that eternity is watching back. A scholar, nameless now, but once renowned, spent his life studying the etchings of an ancient language found in the ruins of a long-forgotten empire. The symbols were unlike any known script, twisting and coiling as if alive, as if they were whispering to those who dared to read them. And read them he did. Each night, by candlelight, he pored over the texts, deciphering words, then sentences, then entire passages. The knowledge he uncovered was intoxicating. It spoke of an entity, a being of neither flesh nor spirit, something that had been buried in time itself. The more he read, the more he understood, and the more he understood, the more he changed. His eyes, once bright with curiosity, darkened. His skin, once warm and lively, paled. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. His colleagues, concerned, attempted to intervene, but they found his chambers empty one night, the air thick with an odor they could not place, a sound they could not locate. His books remained, but their pages were blank, not torn, not burned, simply void of meaning, as if the ink itself had been devoured. They found him weeks later, or rather, what was left of him. His body was intact, seated at his desk, but his face was gone, not torn away, not mutilated, simply gone. A smooth expanse of skin where his eyes, nose, and mouth had once been. And behind him, scrawled upon the walls in that same ancient script, was a single phrase. He is awake. That was the first sign, the first crack in the dam that held back what should never have been known. The second came when the sky began to weep blood. It started with the birds. They fell from the sky, not dead, but silent. Their wings no longer flapped, their eyes no longer blinked. They simply descended, like forgotten memories, like whispers that had lost their voice. No sound accompanied their fall, no cries of pain or confusion, only the eerie hush of bodies landing in the streets, on rooftops, in the outstretched hands of those who dared to catch them. The people gathered in the town squares, staring at the lifeless forms, their mouths opening to ask questions that would never be answered. And then the rain came, red, thick, reeking of something ancient and rotten. It stained the cobblestone streets, turning the dust into sticky mud, soaking into the clothes and hair of those who stood in bewilderment. The rivers turned dark, the wells became tainted, and those who drank from them did not die. No, death would have been mercy. Instead, they forgot themselves, their names, their homes, their families. At first, it was subtle. A pause in a greeting, a hesitation when asked for a name. Then, entire conversations turned to empty stares. Loved ones would wake to find strangers in their own beds, wearing familiar faces but holding no recognition in their eyes. Parents held children who no longer knew them. Husbands and wives wandered past each other in the streets, unable to recall why the sight of one another stirred something deep and painful within them. The town bells rang, calling for order, but those who answered the summons found they had no words to speak, no thoughts to share, only the quiet, gnawing horror of a life unraveling thread by thread. They wandered the streets like hollowed-out puppets, their eyes reflecting nothing but an emptiness too vast to comprehend. And then, one by one, they stopped moving altogether, standing in the rain, motionless, breathless, as if waiting for something unseen to give them purpose once more. The city was abandoned within weeks. Those who could run did, those who could not, changed. And at the center of it all, at the heart of the silence, stood the scholar's chamber, untouched, unmarked, waiting. There is a story, whispered in dark corners, of a wanderer who entered that city long after it had been forsaken. They say he sought answers, but what he found was something else entirely. A door, hidden beneath the scholar's chamber, locked with no key, sealed with no mechanism. It should not have opened, but when he reached out, it did, as if it had been waiting for him. Beyond the door was no basement, no tomb, no library of forbidden knowledge. Beyond the door was darkness, not the absence of light, not a shadow cast by something greater, but true darkness, the kind that does not end, does not yield, the kind that watches. And from within that darkness came a voice with no sound, a whisper with no words. It spoke not to his ears, but to his mind, to his soul. And what it said was simple: I remember you. He ran. He did not look back, did not stop, did not breathe until he had left the city behind. But the voice did not leave him. It echoed in his thoughts, in his dreams, in the spaces between moments where silence should have been. He forgot his name. He forgot his past. He forgot everything except that voice. And when, at last, he could run no more, when he fell to his knees in the wastelands beyond the world, the sky cracked open above him, and he saw, not with his eyes, for he no longer had them, not with his mind, for it was no longer his own, but with something deeper, something more fundamental. He saw eternity, and it saw him. The stars trembled as he beheld their hidden faces. Shapes moved in the blackness between the galaxies, figures vast beyond comprehension, watching, waiting. Their forms defied understanding, shifting like fluid, yet vast as planets, their essence more thought than matter. He saw the history of time unravel before him, civilizations wiped clean as if they had never been, their ruins dissolving into the void without a whisper, empires whose names had never been spoken, whose existence was erased before it could be known, echoed in his thoughts like shadows of voices lost to the abyss. There had never been a beginning. There would never be an end. The universe itself was but a flickering moment in the greater dark, a candle against an infinite storm. Every age, every epoch, every civilization that had risen and fallen was nothing more than a single raindrop in an endless ocean, lost before it could even be remembered. And as he stared into that endless, devouring eternity, he knew he was not the first to witness this horror, nor the last to tremble beneath its gaze. The cosmos had its own predators, and they had been watching since before time had meaning. They loomed beyond perception, waiting at the threshold of understanding, entities whose very existence defied comprehension. They were not gods, for gods were creations of mortals, bound by belief. These things were older than belief, older than thought itself. They did not hunger, for hunger implies desire. They did not seek, for seeking implies purpose. They simply were, stretching across the infinite void like roots in soil, feeding on the fabric of existence itself, unraveling the very threads of reality, not out of malice, but because it was their nature. To them, the rise and fall of galaxies were idle amusements, brief flickers of light in an otherwise unbroken abyss. And then he felt it, the weight of their gaze, an awareness pressing against his very being, something ancient and vast shifting ever so slightly, as if acknowledging him for the first time. The realization struck like a thunderclap. He had not merely observed them, he had been seen. Some say he walks still, a hollowed-out shell, whispering forgotten words to those who dare listen. Others say he became something else, something that waits in the spaces between time, watching, whispering, remembering. But there is one truth that remains, one certainty that none dare question. The door is still there, the darkness is still waiting, and eternity is awake. And now, it knows your name.